Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. Today's guest is Allen Kopelman, CEO and co-founder of Nationwide Payment Systems and the creator of B2B Vault, the Biz2Biz podcast, focused on business conversations and entrepreneurship. Allen's entrepreneurial journey started early, literally behind the cash registers of his family's clothing stores in Miami, and has taken him through some unexpected chapters: culinary school, becoming a chef, then an executive chef, and running food and beverage operations for major hotels in Dallas. After opening his own restaurant, catering company, and consulting group back in Florida, Allen eventually found his way to merchant services. In 2001, he co-founded Nationwide Payment Systems with a simple but powerful idea: deliver a concierge-level service in an industry known for being transactional and confusing. Today, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, scaling service-based businesses, payments, risk, and what Allen has learned after decades of building companies, and sometimes the hard way. Allen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me today.
Thank you. Allen, I love talking with fellow entrepreneurs, and I have noticed a common thread that they get an early start, often with family businesses, very young. You had that experience. You were working behind the cash register at your family store. Did you put your children through that experience in your businesses?
No, my kids actually, they experienced, like, when I was in the restaurant, coming to the restaurant, seeing what was going on there, seeing me cook and things like that. I told them, don't do anything this hard. Today, my kids, my daughter, I'm very proud of her. She's a chief meteorologist at CBS2 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where today she's forecasting some kind of snow activity. It's turned into a blizzard now.
Whoa. Okay.
And with 30, 40 negative.
Wow.
30 to 40 negative degrees tonight and tomorrow. So I feel bad.
A lot of eyes are going to be on her, obviously.
Yeah, she's on TV and on the internet doing live updates on Facebook and all that all day. And my son is a general manager for a clothing store called PacSun at a big mall here.
Okay. How about
So
that?
shout out to both of them for picking up on my work ethic, and hard work pays off.
Yeah.
So they both reached the pinnacles that they strive to reach.
Absolutely. Okay, so you have, beyond your family business and an early start, you've also worked as a chef, you've been to culinary school, owned a restaurant, and now you're in the payments field. What would you say, what are some of the skills you picked up in early jobs that have been very useful in your current business and maybe even your podcast?
Well, one thing is understanding money, and super, super important to understand how money works. And that's very important. And understanding, when I was in the hotel business, the guys that I worked for, the green computers, I call it, and they had these computer programs, and they used to make spreadsheets, and I had to learn, what are they? So every day we used to have to give them numbers. And I learned it so well that I used to go around and train people on what we were doing and how it was helping you run your hotel more efficiently in all the areas of the hotel. Obviously, I focused on food and beverage, but we used to track everything from like hours. But we started very basic. Okay, how many people do you need to just put the key in the door and open the doors up and service your business? So I learned all of this, and I learned how to read spreadsheets. And it's very interesting when you're using spreadsheets, and everybody Excel. We didn't have Excel. We had these big, giant green paper, right? Massive green paper. And we did everything from figuring that out to budgets to this to that. And they had ratios. How much percent of labor can you have? So it's really important to understand that in a business and understand cash flow for your business, and understand like that everything costs money. And that's one thing you understand when you work with food is everything costs money. Everything from the salt and pepper on the table to the steak you're putting on the plate. and everything in between. So all of that you have to figure out, okay, there's labor, there's overhead, there's electricity, gas, there's all these things that you have to pay for, the cooks, and then the food, and then how are you going to make money? I learned that I was like 30 years old, an executive chef, and through my chef training and all that, you're learning all these things and then you're putting it all to work. So even in this business, in payments, one of the people who I got started with in the business told me, you have to understand this is a pennies business where there's pennies made all over the place.
Mm,
And you got to understand that so that you can make money. But one of the things is I had merchant accounts when I had my restaurant.
okay.
So I didn't like how those companies treated me. So when I got into this business, I said, we don't want to treat people that way. We want to make sure our customers have our phone number, we're available, email, calls, text messages, however you want to get in touch with us. And then we're going to make sure that if you have an issue, we take ownership of that issue. And you heard me on the
Yeah.
phone before we went live on the podcast on some other issue. Take ownership of that so that we take care of the customers and give them good customer service. Because the trend today is all these fintech companies and all these AI companies and all these software companies, everything's done through a chatbot,
Yeah.
email. No, there's no live person. So we are still the live person, 25 years in business, and you can get a live person when you deal with us.
Yeah, no, I think that's tremendously valuable. You've worked in these restaurants where hospitality is pretty key. You're not going to go to a restaurant where people ignore you or are short with you. Yeah, and I guess I don't stereotypically think of any financial entity I deal with as super hospitable. And that's very refreshing to hear that's a priority for you.
I like to explain how payments work
Yeah.
to people
Yeah.
so that they understand because I'll talk to an accountant and a CFO and we'll be explaining them this is how it works. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, you go to your doctor when you need a doctor. You talk to your accountant and your accountant explains the tax laws to you. What I do is I explain the rules of how Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and the debit networks, what do they do and what are their rules? And I don't say we bend the rules, but what we do is we make sure if your business is in a certain industry that gets better rates from Visa and MasterCard, then we're going to make sure that you qualify to get those better rates because we don't get money from Visa and MasterCard's fees.
Yeah.
We only make on the spread we charge on top of that. If the debit is 0.05%, we're going to get you that rate if you're on our cost plus program. Where if you're using Stripe, you're paying whatever, 3.5% to Stripe. You're not getting that 0.05 rate for 20% of the people who pay you with a debit card.
Yeah.
But we are able to do that because we know how to do the pricing so that you can take advantage. And, when you put it all into the blender, you're going to come out a lot less than a flat rate program.
Yeah. No, that is really interesting. So you started in 2001. Now you've scaled to over 1,000 clients. How typically scale? Do you do a lot of outreach or is it word of mouth? What's been your best method for
Today, it's all referral, word of mouth, having referral partners is super important. But traditionally, you get started in business, you're out on the street,
Yeah.
knocking on doors,
Right.
and the business has changed a lot. So if you were knocking on doors back in 2001, right, you would find businesses that don't have a credit card machine. They've never had a credit card machine
Right.
in those days. And when you asked them who they were with, I would tell you probably 80% of the people said, "Oh, I'm with my bank."
Okay.
And that was actually like a big thing. And we actually worked with a bank at that time, Imperial Bank of California. And later they merged with Comerica Bank. So we had that bank thing that people liked. Today, when you go talk to clients, oh, I'm with Stripe, I'm with Square,
Yeah.
I'm with PayPal, I'm with QuickBooks. They're with these fintech companies, totally different business. Today, before 2001, people went to the yellow pages. If I told a 20-year-old Yeah, if I showed them the yellow pages, they would look at me like I'm insane. Like, yellow pages, what are you talking about? Yellow pages. Today, people just go to the internet and
Mhm.
get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's even changing because today, now, I would say people, if someone's searching for a specific website, they probably go to Google or whatever,
Hmm.
Edge, whatever they're going. But I think when people are looking for something super specific or shopping for a product, they go to the AI
Yeah.
today. And that's where you hear all this stuff about agentic commerce and
Right.
things like words that have very little meaning right now
Right.
until Google and everybody figures out that they're going to start charging people to get your info put into these AI websites.
Exactly. Okay, so you're over 1,000 clients. You've been growing for a while. And before we started, you were taking a direct call. And I am curious, how do you manage support for so many accounts? Are you interacting with them each account, or do you have a team? How does that work?
So when we set up a client, today it's so much different.
Mhm.
Back in the day, they're just getting a
Yeah.
machine most of the time. So there was a lot more of telephone calls. Oh, my machine's not
Mm,
working. It broke, this, that. Today, most people are using software. So usually the software company is handling the phone calls because they're also interacting with the payments. So we only work with companies who handle the software and the payments together. So when we sell you, let's say, a point of sale system or a SaaS product, the company answering the phone can answer questions about your software and about your payments. Because back in the old days, people would be calling up, hey, my computer's not working. Did you talk to the software company? They say it's not their problem, it's your problem. Then we got to dig in and figure out where the
yeah.
problems are. So we try to make it a very tight ecosystem today when we're selling people technology. People today are buying technology, they're not buying credit card processing
Mm, okay.
by technology. Back in 2001, people wanted a machine and they got their machine. And they're more concerned about the rates and the fees. Today, people are more concerned about, hey, what's this technology do and how can it help me run my business?
Gotcha. Okay. Um, Now, you touched on AI a little bit earlier. And how is AI affecting your industry directly? The first one I want to ask is in terms of fraud. I think we had a live example of that. But what are the other ways that AI is affecting payments and merchant systems?
One thing, definitely fraud has increased.
Okay.
And because people can now, obviously, I'm not using any of these Chinese AI programs
Right.
because I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have my information because when you use AI, you're teaching the AI.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when you're teaching it, it's learning about you, your business, your tone, this, that. I've trained chat GBT to write like blog posts and things like that.
Yeah.
So how did I train it? I took articles that I wrote. I took blog posts that I wrote and uploaded them all in there. So it learned my voice and all this. And then you learn from what they can do and how they can help you, how that equip that software for. But today, people can go get these Chinese AI stuff or stuff from other countries, make fake driver's licenses, make fake bank statements, make fake merchant statements, create a fake identity. We even saw a guy who basically took over. I don't know how he did it. He took over somebody's Google page.
Oh, wow.
Google My Business page. They find them that aren't claimed,
Hmm.
took it over, created a fake business at that address. It's some crazy stuff going on right now from a fraud perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people can just commit all kinds of fraud. The good stuff is like one of the companies we work with took their FAQs, which was like 1,000 pages long. They put it into an AI, and now you can go, let's say you have a question. Oh, how do I add an employee to the software? You can type it in, and the AI gives you the answer without you searching through this 1,000 pages on your computer, and it gives you the answers and how to do it and blah 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 blah. So there's the good and the bad. And AI also helps us with like merchant fraud and
Mm,
making sure merchants are searching their website for products that maybe shouldn't be there, that are illegal products or
mm.
that they don't know that are illegal. We found a guy once who was selling gummy bears that contained Viagra. He had no idea. If we showed them, like, here's the FDA report that says you can't sell this. No, they remove it from their website and we move on.
Okay, so
Yeah, AI's, there's good stuff going on, and there's things that are preventing people from getting fined and things like that.
yeah.
And there's with Visa and MasterCard because we're able to remove products or remove things from the website before the merchant gets in trouble. So that's good stuff. Bad stuff is the fraudsters have figured out how to make fake businesses, fake IDs, steal people's identities. There's like identity theft I don't know what the percentage is today, but through the roof. I tell anybody that I know, lock credit report.
Okay.
That's it. If you're not going to lock it, at least have Credit Karma, the free version. So anytime anything's going on with your credit, you get an alert and you can handle it right away.
Okay. Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
it's important. Your credit is your life. That's your lifeblood, especially if you own a business.
Okay. All right. This is good advice. Now, merchant services specifically, I know you've worked with all kinds of businesses. Have you worked with hard to place or high risk businesses? What are your thoughts on that from your
Yeah,
perspective?
we work with a lot of businesses that we call them niche or in the regulated industries. And you have to learn, okay, which processors and banks accept those businesses. And you have to talk to those banks and you have to find out what are the qualifications. And you deal with businesses that want to play by the rules. So if you have a CBD business, you have to have COAs. They cannot be expired. They have to all be on your website. People don't realize when you're selling like any kind of product that has a product label, whether it's food, it's a new vitamin, a CBD, whatever it is that you're selling, if there's ingredients, it has to be displayed on your website.
Okay.
So you have to, because when you get into regulated products, which is a lot of different products today, you got to play by all the rules, and you got to, because you have the FTC looking at truth in advertising, which is the wording on your website. You got the FDA looking at products. If they're not FDA approved, you need an FDA disclosure. You're selling vape, you need a nicotine disclosure. You sell cigars, you have to have a nicotine disclosure. You have to have age verification on certain products, vapes, cigars, things like that. People sell CBD and stuff like that. There's age restrictions and there's some places you can't ship to. So you have to abide by those rules. Or if you're doing firearms or things like that, you have to deal with those rules. If you're dealing with adult websites, they have rules that they have to follow. So you have to understand what the rules are, communicate them to the merchant, and then make sure that we make sure that they're compliant before we submit them to the bank. Because the worst thing you want to do is you submit it, then the bank goes, oh, they're not compliant. Then they don't want to deal with it. And a lot of times the banks don't want to tell the merchant what's wrong.
Okay.
So they don't know. We'll get people, oh, I've been declined 10 times. Yeah, you're declined 10 times because you're not compliant. Oh, why didn't anybody tell me? Because they don't know, and it's not they're not trained to do that, and they're not trained by whoever they work for to deal with compliance. So you have to deal with every kind of industry. When you get into, like, you're talking about higher risk or high risk industries, there's compliance.
Yeah.
And so you have to deal with compliance up front, not wait for the bank to come back and go, oh, you're being non-compliant. What's non-compliant? Then they don't tell you. They just tell you
You're just not
compliant.
compliant.
We can't help you because they're not going to go do all the work,
Yeah.
make you compliant, where we will educate you and tell you. And there's services that you can use for compliance, and sometimes we direct people to those services, or we say, oh, you need a lawyer because you're non-compliant in a travel industry and you need these proper licenses, or you're starting an iGaming company, therefore you need a legal opinion letter from a gaming attorney. There's all kinds of compliance.
Yeah.
Compliance comes in all shapes and sizes. Like even everybody's buying e-medication and GLP-1. So you have to be legit script certified, or you have to be National Board of Pharmacy. Otherwise, we can't give you a merchant account.
Okay.
So there's a lot of regulated industries, and we know what they are, what industries, and the compliance that needs to be done, so that this way you can go through the application process much faster.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very valuable resource that you offer. Pivoting slightly, I know you host a podcast yourself, and I am curious, what motivated you to start a podcast, and how have you found that as a vehicle for promoting your business, if you're doing that at all? Has it been successful? How are you getting guests? What's your general philosophy on the podcast?
So the idea in the beginning was to educate people about payments, but it was boring. Even though I made it interesting, it's still very boring. And it's also who's searching for that. So it's not that easy to do that. So then we switched it up to more business, and then I switched it up to being more entrepreneur, which has gotten us into the top 100. We've been around in like the 50, as high as 25 in entrepreneur on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
Generally between 50 and 60, 70 range of the top 100 on Apple Podcasts for entrepreneurship. And so we shifted towards that. Does it help get customers? Sure, it helps get customers because customers can come on, and payments always comes up because those people own businesses, and we talk about payments in some way, shape, or form a little bit because the focus is more on the guest, and we try to come up with guests that business owners are going to they're going to learn from. So we had somebody, one of the most popular podcasts, we had a guy on, Scott Kelly, talk about how to raise money for your startup. We had somebody come on, talk about compliance. We had lawyers come on and talk about, oh, you have a problem with your business partner. What do you do?
Okay.
We had somebody come on, talk about like human resources, hiring, firing. How do you handle that? All different types of guests that any regular business owner owns a small, medium size, or even a large company is going to want to listen to these discussions. We've had people come on and talk about marketing. We had a guy come on who builds sales teams, and we talked about, should you have 1099 salespeople or should you hire salaried salespeople? And what's the difference? And where do you lose control? And how does it all work? And we had a whole discussion surrounding that. And I try to tackle areas where I have experience, so that way I can lend in what I've experienced in my business journey, and they're talking about what they're doing in their business journey. So we try to have those interesting discussions. Some of the more popular podcasts have been about chargebacks.
Okay.
It's a big subject matter today. So we have chargebacks out. We talk about that. Have somebody come on who's a chargeback expert and speak about that.
Oh, how about that?
So those are the kind of things that we try to do on the podcast and promote the company and our new product, NPS One, the all-in-one gateway that's very similar to Stripe.
Okay.
So it also helps with payment links, invoicing, just has a few modules you can add on to it. So that's the kind of thing that we try to do.
Awesome.
So with the podcast, and I enjoy doing it, and I meet interesting people, and I like guesting on podcasts like today. But you asked a question about scaling your business before.
Yeah, please.
And I want to, scaling is super important. And that's when you got to get into the whole thing of, when am I hiring my first employee? Because you're running your company, right? So you got to wear every kind of hat.
Right.
You're the bookkeeper, you're the salesperson, you're the one installing or whatever it is that you're doing, right? Selling. So you got to figure that out. Okay, when am I, how I'm making enough money, I can afford an employee. Then you got to figure out, what are they going to do? How much control do you want to have over things? Or how much are you going to outsource? We tried outsourcing, didn't work for us, because I think if you're going to outsource, then you got to have at least one employee who's watching all the outsourced.
Right.
If you don't have that, the outsourcing is never going to work. So that's one thing. And then scaling is just basically you got to make sales, and you also have to remember you have to have retention. Sales retention is more important than making a sale, because it costs you less money to keep a customer than to get, and it costs you more money to go get new customers.
Okay.
So you want to, and today, like in our business, technology plays the biggest role, because we can put credit card machines on the counter, but they can get rid of it and get another one from a different company. But if you're buying our software from us, or you're buying our virtual software or a SaaS product or a point of sale system, now you're locked in. So you're locked in, or we're providing you with some other services that, we're helping you with your chargebacks. We're helping you with your VAMP issues, which is a charge related to chargebacks. So those kind of expertise, that's going to also keep customers around. And people have to think about that in all kinds of business, whether you're selling marketing, websites, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a handyman, you're whatever business that you're in, customer retention is number one.
Allen, this is great. I'd love to hear about your journey, and you obviously have a great service, and you have a lot of happy clients that seem to be sending business your way. If people would like to work with you, where can they find you? Where are the best places? And probably your podcast name again, too.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Allen Kopelman. You can find the podcast, B2B Vault, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can go to the website, nationwidepaymentsystems.com. We always do free consultations. You can go to our solution center, see the different products and services that we offer to our clientele. Everything from different types of SaaS software, invoicing, payments, payment gateways. We're a full service payments and fintech company.
Fantastic. Allen, thanks so much for coming on. And I would definitely point anybody looking for an improvement in their merchant services to go your way to National Payment Services. Now, Allen, once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Reed. I always say, carpe diem, seize the day.
Love it.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.